All right, welcome back to In the Can. We are here with filmmaker Jacob Kornbluth and former Labor Secretary Robert Reich. And Robert, I have to ask you, I mean, you know, from government to Hollywood, so to speak.
Same thing.
Really? Okay, it's all acting, right?
It's all hype.
Well, luckily, it's the hype is good hype, though. This is a documentary, obviously, and the film is called Inequality For All. And talk about it a little bit about it. I mean, this is one of those stories that you know, we were chatting right before we came on, to where, you know, you start a documentary, you go in with an idea, and then you hope by the time you come out of it that it's still relevant, that it's still something that people want to talk about. But this is going to be something we're going to be talking about for a long, long time.
Well, it's about widening income inequality in America, which I don't think sounds as fun as I hope the film is. I think it's really entertaining and accessible film, because we wanted to make sure this was we presented this topic in a way that everybody could understand. And Bob was the perfect subject to speak about it. We sometimes talked about it as a kind of inconvenient truth for the economy, and he plays the character in our film that Al Gore played for that.
Sure, and of course, there's nobody better equipped, maybe, to tell this story, because, you know, this has been your life for your life, you know.
Yeah, for the past 30-odd years, Jeff, I have been working on and being a cabinet secretary and trying to change and writing books about and being on television and fulminating about the fact that fewer and fewer Americans have more and more of the economic pie. And this is not a Democrat versus Republican issue. This is the point that we are trying to make, is that if Americans really understand the issue, regardless of their political persuasion, they will be motivated to do something about it, because the rich in this country would do much better with a smaller share of a rapidly growing economy than a big share of one that's dead in the water, because nobody can buy enough to keep it going.
I mean, but how do you tell that story and how do you sell it? Because, you know, the whole idea of the American dream, and I don't know if my generation even knows what that means anymore, but and especially my child's generation, I don't know if, you know, what he's going to think in the future, but that idea of, you know, you go out, you work hard, you become successful, you get rich, and that's a good thing no matter what happens around you.
Well, it's not so much about if people should or shouldn't get rich. It's more about making sure that everybody has a piece of the economy. And I think sometimes people frame this argument in a sort of us versus them thing. The rich are here, everybody else is there. And I think that's an oversimplification of how it could work. And I made this film because I, like you, was so passionate about trying to figure it out. Like, I didn't understand it when the film started, but I thought he was the person who was kind of speaking most clearly about it, taking all this complex stuff and boiling it down in a way that I could easily understand. And I hope, Americans don't feel like sort of put off by this complexity of the topic, and because it's really important that we all understand this and give ourselves a chance to work to sort of fix this stuff.
I think what Jake and his team have done so wonderfully well is to make something complicated not only clear but also entertaining.
And see, and that's what
it's fun. I mean, this movie is enjoyable. I mean, it's people come out singing. I mean, how can they come out singing about inequality? But there is that aspect, and you really you did it.
And I think that's a very important thing, because a subject matter like this, the typical American understands what we're talking about, but doesn't understand the mechanism, doesn't understand what even creates an economy, why it's important for everybody to have a piece of that economy as well. So I think we're looking for kind of an easy way to be able to digest it in order to incorporate it and get passionate about it. And maybe this film can be a good impetus for that. I know we have a clip. We're going to show that really quick. Let's take a quick look at Inequality For All. And that's exactly kind of what we're looking at. I mean, that's such a great way of, visualizing really what the situation is.
Well, the graphics are fabulous.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I teach, I've been teaching for years this stuff to graduate students, undergraduates, at Harvard, Berkeley. But I haven't had the graphics, and I haven't had this genius filmmaker. And so this is an hour and a half that encapsulates a lot of what people really need to know.
Well, maybe, I don't know, down the road, maybe we can just lend the film over to Robert and let him use it in his classrooms. And
I hope that people.
And I say that facetiously, but that's kind of the idea, right? You want to get a real grassroots kind of, even from a student level perspective, so people can not only arm themselves with the information in a palatable way, but they can take it out there and make a difference.
Well, one of the fascinating things is one of the through lines of the movie is seeing him teach. And you see him in this incredible packed lecture hall, which is the college course I always wished I could have had when I was in college and wasn't able to have. And you see the look on the students' faces of sort of taking in this information, and it's powerful. It's powerful to watch, them think about how they can fix things or think about it.
And that begs the question, as you were doing the film, as you were showing it people, were you surprised by the reaction? Were you surprised at and this is a bad word, but the ignorance on the subject? Do we really get what's happening?
Look, people get pieces, but what people desperately want is they want to see how to connect the dots. They want to see the big picture. They get a little piece here. We have a budget deficit. They have a little piece here that, wages are going down. They got a little piece here that technology and globalization are doing this and that. And they know their own paychecks are suffering, and they have a good idea of their kitchen table economics. But they don't really understand how the whole system works, how it fits together.
Right.
And what they really don't understand is that the economy is essentially a bunch of rules. And we make the rules, ultimately. I mean, it's within our power, again, whether we are Republican or Democrat or anything, it's within our power to change the rules if we don't like the rules.
Let me ask you how you came about this project. And we started talking about this before the clip. Did you have the idea first and then went to Robert, or did you see Robert Reich and say, he's got a story, I want to tell his story?
Well, in the best possible sense, this grew organically out of a working relationship and friendship that we had developed we both live in Berkeley, and we started making these short videos together, 2 minutes long, and at first I just posted them on Facebook, and at some point hundreds and thousands of people started watching.
And what videos were these? Just kind of mini clips of kind of the same idea of being able to compartmentalize the ideas?
Honestly, they were things that I really wanted to understand. I don't have an economics background, and I wanted to understand some topics. I could hear all my friends debating and talking about these things over dinner, over drinks, and we didn't get it in some way. We didn't have it sort of boiled down in a way we could really understand. So I called up Bob and asked him if he would talk about it on camera, and we started making these short videos, and I really could sense that there was a need for this type of information to get out there, or we could collectively sense that.
Well, a lot of them, several of them got 1.5 million clips, billion hits.
Yeah.
1.5 million hits.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of people watching.
It's a
these
large
things.
economy of hits.
And it's a large economy of hits, but it's also like it was all friend to friend. It wasn't like there was no infrastructure, and so what you saw was people wanted to know this type of thing, and then I found myself, with my friends worrying about the economy and worrying about the direction America was going, and at the same time Bob was writing a book, Aftershock, and so we would already been making these videos, and it seemed like the videos could do a certain amount of good, but a film could really put it all together, and I think that was sort of the genesis for the film.
Well, the film is premiering this afternoon on Saturday, 2:30 at the Prospector. But of course, it's playing throughout the week. The film Inequality For All will leave you with Jacob Kornbluth and, of course, Robert Reich, and we'll leave you with one last clip. I believe it centers on your years as the Labor Secretary.